It is the 3rd of August, 2016, a scorching and humid morning at Dubai International Airport. High above this massive transit hub, Emirates Flight 521, a highly reliable Boeing 777, is perfectly aligned for what looks like a completely standard arrival. In the left seat is a 34-year-old Emirati captain. He earned his command on wide-body jets a full decade earlier than most pilots, and today he has the aircraft stabilize on a steady glide path down to the runway. But seconds from touchdown, something goes wrong. Shortly after the right main wheels graze the tarmac, the captain realizes he is rapidly running out of runway. He decides to abort the landing, hits the go-around switches on his throttles, and pulls back on the yoke to climb away. He commands full power to escape, but as the heavy aircraft lifts back into the desert sky, the thrust levers do not move. The engines remain completely at idle. This crash was the end result of a cascading chain of missing information, a sequence of invisible traps that severed the connection between the crew, their computers, and the atmosphere itself. The first trap is gathering directly over the runway. Two separate low-pressure systems are interacting with the extreme afternoon heat, choking off the normal sea breeze and creating a massive invisible boundary in the air. This creates severe wind shear, a violent, sudden shift in wind direction. Because an airplane wing relies entirely on the speed of the air flowing horizontally over it to generate upward lift, a sudden change in that airflow can cause an aircraft to lose lift and drop hundreds of feet in seconds. Modern aviation has a defense against this. The Boeing 777 is equipped with a predictive radar system in its nose, specifically designed to look ahead and warn the pilots if they are about to fly into a dangerous shear boundary. But this radar has a physical limitation. It works by bouncing its signals off moisture in the air, like rain droplets or high humidity. In the bone-dry 48-degree heat of a Dubai summer afternoon, there is absolutely no water in the air to reflect those signals back. The radar looks straight into the turbulence and sees absolutely nothing. Without a single alarm sounding in the cockpit, the aircraft is stripped of its primary automated defense without the crew ever knowing. The people on the ground, however, do have the information. Air traffic control and the planes ahead of Flight 521 know about the volatile winds. In fact, 2 aircraft have just aborted their landings on this exact runway because of it. But those preceding pilots reported the turbulent conditions on the local tower radio frequency. Emirates 521 is still tuned into the approach frequency, completely deaf to the struggle happening just a few miles ahead. And instead of proactively warning incoming flights about these specific missed landings, the controllers rely on an automated wind shear caution broadcast for all runways all afternoon. Pilots hear these routine summer alerts so often, they simply learn to tune them out as background noise. Between a blind radar and a silent tower, this systemic communication breakdown ensures the crew enters the most critical phase of their flight holding a completely flawed picture of the environment. As the runway comes into view, the captain takes manual control. His training records note one specific habit during landings. He tends to pull the nose up for the final landing flare just a few feet earlier than most pilots. Today, he initiates that flare 10 feet too high. As the nose rises, massive columns of hot air, thermals radiating off the scorching concrete, push upward against the broad underside of the wings. At 25 feet above the ground, the aircraft software steps in. Assuming the plane is perfectly positioned and a touchdown is imminent, the computer automatically pulls the engine thrust completely back to idle. The high flare slows their descent, the thermals hold them aloft, and the engines are practically asleep. The 777 is trapped in a zombie state, gliding too slowly to climb out of danger, but generating far too much lift to actually land. Floating deep past the touchdown markers, a sudden gust of wind violently banks the aircraft. The captain corrects hard, and for barely a fraction of a second, the right wheel kisses the tarmac. That momentary contact flips a hidden switch in the computer logic. The aircraft instantly transitions into ground mode. This is a hardwired safety feature designed to prevent accidental takeoffs by immediately disabling the automatic go-around switches on the throttles. Realizing he has eaten up too much runway, the pilot decides to go around. He presses those newly deactivated switches from pure muscle memory and expects an automatic, roaring surge of power. But he is dangerously close to the earth. If he pitches the nose up too aggressively, the long tail will strike the concrete. Locked into severe tunnel vision to carefully manage the angle of the nose, he never sees his hand resting on idle throttles. The automated system actively blocked his attempt to escape, while his own cognitive overload blinded him to the system's betrayal. Emirates 521 lifts off the runway again, but it isn't flying on power. It is coasting upward purely on momentum and a slight headwind. It reaches 85 feet into the air, bleeding airspeed with zero thrust coming from the engines. Then, the forward energy runs out. Gravity takes over, the vertical speed drops to negative, and as the plane begins to fall, the captain finally realizes his engines are dead. He manually shoves the throttles all the way forward to the firewall. But physics demands a toll. Massive jet engines require a full 6 seconds to wake up from idle and spool to maximum thrust. The falling airplane only has 3 seconds of altitude left. 18 seconds after attempting to abort the landing, the aft fuselage slams into the runway. The impact tears the right engine entirely off the wing and immediately engulfs the aircraft in a massive fireball. What follows is an agonizing 6-minute evacuation. Remarkably, all 300 passengers and crew make it out alive, offset only by the tragic death of Jassim al-Balushi, a responding firefighter caught in a secondary explosion on the tarmac. The subsequent investigation triggered sweeping changes across the industry. Boeing overhauled its flight manuals to demand explicit physical verification of thrust during a go-around. Air traffic controllers in Dubai are now mandated to pass on specific aborted landing data to all following aircraft, and Emirates implemented new simulator training to expose pilots to the precise mechanics of the ground mode trap. In our modern era of highly automated flight, danger lies in the fatal assumption that a machine sees the exact same reality that the pilot does.